Most drivers are unknowingly sabotaging their vehicles, losing thousands of dollars and years of lifespan. Your dealership's recommended service intervals. They're designed to get you just past the warranty, not past 300,000 miles. Today, I'll reveal 17 brutally honest automotive secrets, techniques industry insiders would rather keep hidden, that can help your car cross the 300,000-mile finish line and save you tens of thousands of dollars in repairs. Watch closely. Each trick is more valuable than the last, and one mistake could mean a $4,000 engine rebuild. Let's get started. Secret number 1. The 3,000-mile oil rule. Why your manual is lying to you. Here's the problem. Most people miss. Following your manufacturer's oil change interval is slowly destroying your engine from the inside out, and they know it. Those 8,000 to 10,000 mile intervals you see in your owner's manual, they're engineered to get your vehicle just past the warranty period, not to maximize engine life. I've pulled apart engines that religiously followed manufacturer intervals, and what I found inside would shock you. Thick black sludge coating every internal component, oil passages clogged like arteries, and wear patterns that should take 300,000 miles happening at just 80,000. The truth is, real-world driving conditions are nothing like the laboratory tests used to set those intervals. Stop-and-go traffic, short trips where your engine never fully warms up, extreme temperatures, and dusty conditions all break down oil faster than manufacturers account for. When oil breaks down, it stops lubricating and starts acting like liquid sandpaper against your pistons, rings, and cylinder walls. This microscopic destruction adds up to catastrophic engine failure that could cost you $8,000 to $15,000 to rebuild or replace. Here's what actually works. Change conventional oil every 3,000 miles, full synthetic every 5,000 to 7,000 miles maximum. Yes, this costs more upfront, about $200 extra per year, but it prevents the kind of internal engine damage that destroys vehicles long before they should die. I've seen properly maintained engines with 400,000 miles that still run like new, and I've seen neglected engines need complete rebuilds at 90,000 miles. The difference? Consistent, frequent oil changes with quality oil and filters. The money saved is staggering. When you do the math, an extra $100 to $200 per year in oil changes versus a potential $8,000 to $15,000 engine replacement means this single habit can save you tens of thousands over your vehicle's lifetime. Plus, engines with fresh oil run more efficiently, giving you better fuel economy and more power. Your engine will thank you, your wallet will thank you, and you'll drive past 300,000 miles while others are shopping for replacement vehicles. Secret number 2. The engine warm-up myth. That's costing you thousands. Most drivers think they're protecting their engine by letting it idle for 5 to 10 minutes before driving, but they're actually accelerating its destruction. This myth has cost more engines than almost any other misconception, and here's exactly why it's so damaging. When your engine idles, especially when cold, it runs rich, meaning it injects extra fuel that doesn't burn completely. This unburned fuel washes the protective oil film off your cylinder walls, creating metal-on-metal contact that scores your pistons and cylinders with every revolution. The damage compounds because cold engines run inefficiently, producing more unburned fuel that dilutes your oil. Within minutes of extended idling, your oil loses its lubricating properties and starts acting like a contaminated mess that can't protect your engine components. I've seen engines that were babied with long warm-up periods develop more internal wear in 50,000 miles than properly driven engines develop in 200,000 miles. The irony is heartbreaking, people destroying their engines while thinking they're protecting them. Here's what actually works, and why it works so much better. Start your engine. Wait exactly 30 seconds for oil pressure to build, then drive gently for the first 2 miles. Light acceleration, no hard acceleration or high RPMs, just normal driving. This method heats your oil 8 times faster than idling, because your engine is actually working and generating heat efficiently. Your transmission, differential, and other components also warm up properly instead of sitting cold while your engine idles. The science is simple. Moving parts generate heat through friction, and that heat is what brings all your fluids to optimal operating temperature. When you drive gently from a cold start, everything warms up together in perfect harmony. This cuts your fuel consumption during warm-up by 70%, reduces emissions dramatically, and eliminates the fuel dilution that destroys engines. The money saved on fuel alone pays for itself, but the real savings come from avoiding the internal engine damage that costs thousands to repair. Modern engines are designed to be driven, not idled, and treating them properly can easily add 100,000 miles to their lifespan. Secret number 3. The fuel pump click that destroys your emission system. This next mistake is so common and so expensive that it should be taught in driver's education, but somehow everyone misses it. When you're filling your gas tank and the pump clicks off, that's your cue to stop, but most people keep trying to squeeze in more fuel. That extra gallon or two you're forcing into your tank is about to cost you hundreds or even thousands of dollars in repairs, and here's exactly how this innocent mistake destroys your car. Every vehicle has an evaporative emissions system designed to capture fuel vapors and prevent them from escaping into the atmosphere. This system includes charcoal canisters, sensors, valves, and vacuum lines that work together to manage fuel vapors. When you overfill your tank, liquid gasoline floods into these components that are only designed to handle vapors. The charcoal canister becomes saturated with liquid fuel. Sensors get contaminated, and the entire system fails. The repair bill? Anywhere from $350 to $900, sometimes more for luxury vehicles with complex systems. But here's where it gets really expensive. A flooded evaporative system triggers your check engine light and puts your vehicle into emissions failure mode. In many states, you can't renew your registration until this is fixed, meaning you're literally unable to legally drive your car. The diagnostic time alone costs $100 to $150. Then you're looking at parts and labor that can easily exceed $800. All of this from trying to squeeze an extra $1.50 worth of gas into your tank. The solution is embarrassingly simple, but saves you tremendous money when the pump clicks. Immediately stop fueling and walk away. Your fuel tank needs room for vapors to expand and contract with temperature changes, and the pump's automatic shutoff is precisely calibrated to leave exactly the right amount of space. Trust the engineering. Those extra few dollars of gas aren't worth hundreds in repairs. Let your gas tank breathe. Respect the click, and your emission system will serve you faithfully for the life of your vehicle. This one habit change can save you more money than most other maintenance tips combined. Secret number 4. Real transmission care. The 60,000-mile truth. Here's something the quick lube places don't want you to know. Most automatic transmissions are designed to have their fluid changed every 60,000 miles, but somehow this critical service has become lifetime fluid in marketing materials. This lie has destroyed more transmissions than almost any other factor, and it's costing drivers thousands in unnecessary repairs. I've rebuilt transmissions that could have lasted 300,000 miles, but failed at 90,000 because owners believed the lifetime fluid myth. The truth about transmission fluid is brutal but simple. Even though it looks clean from the outside, by 60,000 miles it's contaminated with metal shavings from clutches and bands, heat-damaged molecules that no longer lubricate properly, and microscopic debris that acts like grinding compound inside your transmission. This contaminated fluid creates a cascade of destruction. It can't lubricate properly, it doesn't transfer heat efficiently, and it allows components to slip and burn. The result? Complete transmission failure that costs $3,000 to $7,500 to rebuild or replace. What makes this even more expensive is that most people wait until they notice problems before checking their transmission. By the time you feel slipping, harsh shifts, or delayed engagement, internal damage is already extensive. A transmission that might have been saved with a simple fluid change now needs major internal work. The irony is devastating. A $200 service could have prevented a $5,000 rebuild, but the damage was hidden until it became catastrophic. Here's the maintenance schedule that actually works, based on real-world transmission longevity data. For conventional vehicles, drain and fill your transmission fluid every 60,000 miles or 6 years, whichever comes first. For hybrid vehicles, you can extend this to 90,000 miles, because their transmissions run cooler and experience less stress. Never do a transmission flush on high mileage or neglected transmissions. The high pressure can dislodge debris and cause immediate failure. Always use the exact manufacturer specified fluid. Never universal or compatible substitutes. This simple service performed consistently can help your transmission last the lifetime of your vehicle, while saving you thousands in premature replacement costs. The math is simple. Spend $200 every 60,000 miles to avoid spending $5,000 every 100,000 miles. Secret number 5. Smart braking techniques that double your brake life. Here's where most people completely destroy their brakes without realizing it, and it's costing them hundreds of dollars in premature replacements every single year. The biggest brake killer isn't mountain driving or heavy loads. It's the way 90% of drivers approach red lights and stop signs. Racing up to intersections and jamming on the brakes creates heat spikes that exceed 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. And this extreme heat warps your rotors, boils your brake fluid, and glazes your pads beyond repair. When brake components get this hot, several expensive things happen simultaneously. Your rotors warp from thermal stress, creating that pulsing feeling you feel through the pedal and steering wheel. Your brake fluid absorbs moisture from the air and starts to boil, creating vapor bubbles that make your pedal feel spongy and reduce stopping power when you need it most. Your brake pads become glazed and hardened, losing their ability to grip effectively and requiring much more pressure to stop. The repair bill for just one axle runs $400 to $800, and most people need this service every 20,000 to 30,000 miles instead of the 60,000 to 80,000 miles properly maintained brakes should last. Here's the technique that doubles brake life and saves you serious money. Practice coasting early and using engine braking whenever possible. When you see a red light or stop sign ahead, take your foot off the accelerator immediately and let your engine slow the vehicle naturally. On hills, downshift to use engine compression instead of riding your brakes constantly. This keeps your brake temperatures manageable and preserves the friction materials that cost so much to replace. The science behind this is straightforward but powerful. Gentle, progressive braking spreads the heat generation over time, instead of creating those destructive temperature spikes. Your rotors stay true, your fluid stays cool, and your pads wear evenly instead of glazing. Manual transmission drivers have a huge advantage here. Downshifting to slow down is free engine braking that costs nothing and preserves your brake components. Automatic transmission drivers can use lower gears on long hills or invest in learning to anticipate stops earlier. This single habit change can save you $400 to $800 per year in brake service, while actually improving your safety through better, more predictable stopping power. Secret number 6. Critical coolant maintenance that prevents engine destruction. Most drivers treat coolant like it's permanent, but this misconception has destroyed more engines than overheating accidents. Old coolant doesn't just lose its ability to prevent freezing and overheating, it becomes acidic and starts eating your engine from the inside out. The aluminum components in modern engines are particularly vulnerable, and I've seen cylinder heads warp permanently from just one overheating incident that could have been prevented with proper coolant maintenance. Here's what happens when coolant breaks down, and why it's so catastrophic for modern engines. Over time, coolant loses its anti-corrosion additives and starts attacking your water pump, radiator heater core, and most expensively, your cylinder head. Aluminum heads can warp at temperatures as low as 230 degrees Fahrenheit, just 30 degrees above normal operating temperature. When a head warps, you're looking at a complete engine teardown, machining work, and gasket replacement that typically runs $3,800 to $6,000 depending on your vehicle. But the destruction doesn't stop there. Corroded coolant passages restrict flow, creating hot spots that cause localized overheating even when your temperature gauge reads normal. Your water pump impeller corrodes and loses efficiency. Your radiator develops internal blockages, and your heater core starts leaking expensive coolant into your passenger compartment. These cascade failures often happen suddenly, leaving drivers stranded with repair bills that exceed their vehicle's value. The solution is simple but absolutely critical. Flush your coolant system every 3 to 5 years regardless of mileage, and never mix different types of coolant chemistry. Always use exactly what your manufacturer specifies. The wrong coolant type can cause immediate chemical reactions that destroy gaskets and seals within thousands of miles. Check your coolant level monthly when the engine is cold, and investigate immediately if you're losing coolant because it never just evaporates. This preventive maintenance costs $150 to $250 every few years, but prevents thousands in catastrophic engine damage. The investment pays for itself many times over, and proper coolant maintenance can help your engine reach 300,000 miles with the original head gasket intact. Secret number 7. Find and fix coolant leaks before they destroy your engine. Here's a critical truth that most drivers ignore until it's too late. Coolant never just disappears. If you're adding coolant to your reservoir regularly, you have a leak somewhere in your system, and finding it early can save you from complete engine failure. Most people top off their coolant and forget about it, but this approach turns small, inexpensive leaks into catastrophic engine damage that costs thousands to repair. The problem with coolant leaks is that they often start small and hide in places you can't easily see. A tiny leak from a water pump weep hole or a hairline crack in a hose might only lose coolant when the system is hot and pressurized, making it invisible during normal inspections. Meanwhile, your cooling system is slowly losing its ability to manage engine heat, and you're driving toward an overheating incident that could destroy your engine permanently. By the time you see steam or your temperature gauge spikes, internal damage may already be done. Here's the diagnostic technique that catches leaks before they become expensive. Pressure test your cooling system when the engine is completely cold. A cooling system pressure tester costs about $40 and can save you thousands in engine damage. Connect it to your radiator or coolant reservoir. Pump it up to your system's rated pressure, and watch for pressure drops over 15 minutes. Any pressure loss indicates a leak that needs immediate attention, even if you can't see where it's coming from. The most common leak points that destroy engines are water pump seals, radiator end tanks, heater core connections, and the often overlooked radiator cap itself. A failing radiator cap that can't hold proper system pressure will cause coolant to boil and overflow, creating the same symptoms as a major leak. The cap costs $15 to $25 and takes 5 minutes to replace. But a failed cap can cause overheating that results in thousands in engine damage. Regular pressure testing helps you catch these problems early, when repairs cost hundreds instead of thousands. Finding and fixing coolant leaks immediately preserves your engine's integrity and prevents the kind of catastrophic failures that total otherwise good vehicles. Secret number 8. Vehicle weight management that protects your suspension and saves thousands. Most people never think about how much weight they're carrying, but overloading your vehicle is one of the fastest ways to destroy expensive suspension components and create safety hazards that put you and your family at risk. Every extra 100 pounds beyond your vehicle's payload rating dramatically increases stress on springs, shocks, struts, and most expensively, your wheel bearings and CV joints. The repair bills for suspension damage typically run $1,400 to $2,800 per corner, and overloaded vehicles often need multiple corners repaired simultaneously. Here's what happens inside your suspension when you exceed weight limits, and why the damage is so expensive to repair. Your springs compress beyond their designed range, causing them to lose their ability to absorb road impacts effectively. This transfers shock loads directly to your struts and shocks, causing internal seal failures and fluid leaks that destroy these components prematurely. Your wheel bearings, designed for specific load ranges, develop play and noise that requires complete hub assembly replacement. Most critically, your steering and handling become unpredictable, creating dangerous situations that could result in accidents. The hidden damage extends beyond just suspension components. Overloaded vehicles experience accelerated tire wear, reduced fuel economy, longer stopping distances, and increased brake heat that warps rotors and destroys pads faster than normal. Your transmission works harder to move the extra weight, generating more heat and shortening its service life. Even your engine runs less efficiently, burning more fuel and producing more emissions while delivering less power. Here's the weight management strategy that protects your investment and keeps your family safe. Know your vehicle's payload rating and stick to it religiously. This number includes passengers, cargo, trailer tongue weight, and any accessories you've added. A typical mid-size SUV might have a payload rating of 1,500 pounds, which sounds like a lot until you add 5 passengers, luggage, and gear. Weigh your loaded vehicle at a truck stop scale if you're unsure. Many drivers are shocked to discover they're exceeding limits regularly. Remove unnecessary items from your vehicle, distribute weight evenly, and consider upgrading to a vehicle with higher payload capacity if you regularly need to carry heavy loads. This attention to weight management can extend your suspension life by 50% or more, while maintaining the safety and handling characteristics your vehicle was designed to provide. Secret number 9. Strange noises are your engine's cry for help. Ignore them and pay thousands. Most drivers turn up the radio when their car starts making strange noises, but this approach transforms minor repairs into major catastrophes that can destroy your vehicle's value and empty your bank account. Every unusual sound your car makes is trying to tell you something specific, and learning to listen can save you thousands in preventable damage. I've seen countless vehicles that could have been saved with a $50 repair end up needing complete engine or transmission replacements because the owner ignored the warning signs until catastrophic failure occurred. Here's what those common noises actually mean, and why ignoring them is so expensive. A ticking sound from your engine usually indicates low oil pressure or worn valve components. Catching this early might cost you $200 to $500 in repairs, But ignoring it leads to complete engine seizure and $8,000 to $12,000 in replacement costs. Squealing from your belts means they're about to fail, potentially taking your alternator, power steering pump, or air conditioning compressor with them when they break. A grinding sound from your brakes means you've worn through your pads and are destroying your rotors. What started as a $150 pad replacement becomes a $600 rotor and pad service. The most expensive noise to ignore is knocking or pinging from your engine under acceleration. This sound indicates detonation. Your fuel is igniting at the wrong time and hammering your pistons, rings, and connecting rods with tremendous force. Every ping is literally destroying your engine's internal components, and continued driving can result in complete engine failure that costs more than most vehicles are worth. Similarly, clunking from your suspension or drivetrain components means joints and bushings are failing, components that cost hundreds to replace, but can cause accidents if they fail completely while driving. Here's the money-saving approach that turns car ownership from expensive surprises into predictable maintenance. Keep a simple noise log and investigate every unusual sound immediately. When you hear something new, note when it happens, what it sounds like, and what conditions trigger it. Get these sounds diagnosed quickly by a trusted mechanic. Diagnostic fees of $100 to $150 seem expensive until you realize they prevent thousands in major repairs. Modern vehicles are engineered to give you warning signs before major failures occur, but only if you're listening. The drivers who reach 300,000 miles without major breakdowns are the ones who treat unusual noises as urgent maintenance reminders rather than annoying background sounds to mask with louder music. Secret number 10. The manual transmission mistake that costs $1,500. If you drive a manual transmission vehicle, this next mistake is costing you serious money and you probably don't even realize you're making it. Resting your foot on the clutch pedal while driving might seem harmless, but this habit is slowly destroying one of your vehicle's most expensive components and setting you up for a repair bill that typically runs $1,500 to $2,500. The worst part, most people don't realize the damage they're causing until they're stranded with a clutch that won't engage and facing a major repair that could have been completely avoided. Here's exactly what happens when you ride your clutch, and why this seemingly innocent habit is so destructive. Your clutch works by using friction between a disc and your flywheel to transfer power from your engine to your transmission. When you rest your foot on the pedal, you're creating constant partial engagement that generates heat and wears the friction material away, microscopic layer by microscopic layer. This isn't the normal wear that comes from shifting, it's accelerated destruction that can reduce your clutch life from 150,000 miles to 40,000 miles or less. The damage compounds, because partial clutch engagement creates tremendous heat in a confined space. This heat warps your pressure plate, glazes your clutch disc, and can even damage your flywheel surface, requiring expensive machining or replacement. When your clutch finally fails, you're not just replacing the clutch disc, you're often looking at pressure plate, release bearing, and flywheel work that pushes repair costs well beyond $2,000. Add in the labor time required to drop your transmission, and you're facing a repair bill that exceeds many vehicles' value. The solution is simple, but requires developing better driving habits that will save you thousands over your vehicle's lifetime. Keep your left foot completely off the clutch pedal, except when shifting or starting from a stop. At red lights and in stop-and-go traffic, shift to neutral and use your handbrake instead of holding the clutch pedal down. On hills, use your handbrake for hill starts rather than riding the clutch to prevent rollback. These techniques eliminate the constant wear that destroys clutches prematurely and can easily double or triple your clutch life. The money saved is substantial. Proper clutch habits can save you $1,500 to $2,500 every 100,000 miles while ensuring your manual transmission provides the reliable, engaging driving experience it was designed to deliver. Secret number 11. The quarter tank rule that saves your fuel system. Here's a fuel habit that most drivers ignore, but it's quietly destroying one of your vehicle's most expensive and critical components. Running your gas tank below a quarter full might save you a few dollars in the short term, but it's setting up your fuel pump for premature failure that typically costs $600 to $1,200 to repair. This isn't just an inconvenience. Fuel pump failure often happens without warning, leaving you stranded and facing emergency repair costs that are always higher than scheduled maintenance. The science behind fuel pump destruction is straightforward but brutal. Your electric fuel pump sits inside your gas tank, submerged in fuel that serves as both coolant and lubricant for the pump's internal components. When you run your tank low, the pump starts sucking air and overheating, while simultaneously losing the lubricating properties that keep its internal parts from wearing against each other. Low fuel levels also allow sediment and debris that naturally settles at the bottom of your tank to get drawn into your fuel system, clogging filters and injectors while contaminating the pump itself. But the damage goes beyond just the pump. When your fuel pump overheats from running in low fuel conditions, it sends hot, aerated fuel to your engine that can cause lean running conditions and potential engine damage. Your fuel filter clogs faster with debris from the bottom of your tank, reducing fuel flow and forcing your pump to work harder. Most expensively, debris and sediment can damage your fuel injectors, which cost $200 to $400 each to replace and require specialized diagnostic equipment to identify when they're failing. Here's the fuel management strategy that protects your entire fuel system and saves you hundreds in repairs. Never let your tank drop below 1/4 full, and fill up when you reach that point rather than pushing it further. This ensures your fuel pump stays submerged and cool, prevents sediment from being stirred up and drawn into your system, and provides consistent fuel pressure that keeps your engine running efficiently. Additionally, keep your fuel filter changed according to your manufacturer's schedule, typically every 30,000 to 60,000 miles, to prevent pump overwork and injector contamination. This simple habit costs nothing to implement, but can save you $600 to $1,200 in fuel pump replacement costs, while preventing the injector damage that can add hundreds more to your repair bills. Secret number 12: spark plug quality. Why cheap plugs destroy expensive engines. Most people think spark plugs are spark plugs, but this misconception is costing drivers thousands in preventable engine damage and catalytic converter destruction. Cheap spark plugs or extended replacement intervals might save you $50 to $100 in the short term, but they can trigger a cascade of failures that results in catalytic converter replacement, engine misfire damage, and fuel system problems that cost thousands to repair. Modern direct injection engines are particularly vulnerable to spark plug neglect, and the damage happens faster and more expensively than most people realize. Here's what happens when you use inferior spark plugs or ignore replacement intervals, and why the consequences are so catastrophic for modern engines. Poor quality plugs have inconsistent firing characteristics that create incomplete combustion, sending unburned fuel into your exhaust system, where it overheats and destroys your catalytic converter. Catalytic converter replacement typically costs $1,500 to $3,000 depending on your vehicle, and many states require original equipment specifications that make aftermarket alternatives illegal. Meanwhile, inconsistent ignition timing from worn plugs causes engine knock that can destroy pistons, rings, and connecting rods, requiring complete engine rebuilds. The damage compounds because modern engines run much hotter and under higher compression than older designs, creating extreme stress on spark plug electrodes. Direct injection engines are particularly demanding because fuel doesn't wash the plugs clean during operation, causing carbon buildup that degrades performance rapidly. When spark plugs start misfiring, your engine's computer tries to compensate by injecting more fuel and adjusting timing, but this often makes the problem worse while damaging other components like oxygen sensors and fuel injectors. Here's the spark plug strategy that protects your engine and saves thousands in related repairs. Use only high-quality plugs from trusted manufacturers like NGK, Denso, or Bosch, and replace them according to the severe service schedule rather than normal intervals. For direct injection engines, inspect plugs starting at 60,000 miles regardless of what your manual says about 100,000-mile intervals. The marketing claims about extended life plugs don't account for real-world driving conditions, fuel quality variations, and the carbon buildup that plagues modern engines. Quality spark plugs cost $30 to $50 more than cheap alternatives, but they prevent catalytic converter damage, maintain fuel economy, and protect your engine's internal components from misfire damage. This small investment in quality components can save you thousands in major repairs, while ensuring your engine delivers maximum power and efficiency throughout its service life. Secret number 13: the DIY engine mount death test that prevents thousands in damage. Most drivers never think about their engine mounts until they fail catastrophically, but these critical components protect your entire drivetrain from destruction. And there's a simple test you can perform in your driveway that reveals problems before they become expensive disasters. Failed engine mounts don't just create annoying vibrations, they allow your engine to move excessively, hammering your transmission, stressing your axles, and even cracking your vehicle's frame. The cascading damage from ignored engine mount failure can easily exceed $5,000 in repairs, but catching the problem early costs just a few $100s to fix. Here's exactly what happens when engine mounts fail, and why the damage spreads so quickly throughout your vehicle. Your engine produces tremendous torque and vibration that engine mounts are designed to isolate from your vehicle's structure. When mounts fail, this energy transfers directly into your transmission case, axle connections, and frame mounting points. Transmission cases can crack from the stress, requiring complete replacement that costs $3,000 to $6,000. CV joints and axles wear prematurely from the excessive movement, leading to clicking noises and eventual failure that leaves you stranded. Most expensively, frame damage from engine movement can render your vehicle unsafe and economically totaled. The death test for engine mounts is something any driver can perform safely, and it reveals problems long before they become catastrophic. With your vehicle parked on level ground and the parking brake engaged, start your engine and let it reach operating temperature. Have someone stand outside the vehicle where they can safely observe the engine bay. With your foot firmly on the brake pedal, shift into drive and gently rev the engine to about 2,000 RPM while watching for excessive movement. Your engine should move slightly. That's normal, but movement exceeding 1 inch in any direction means your mounts are failing and need immediate replacement. Here's what to look for during the test and why early replacement saves you thousands. Excessive vertical movement usually indicates your main engine mount has failed, while side-to-side movement suggests transmission mount problems. Any visible cracking in rubber mount components means immediate replacement is needed before the mount separates completely. The key is catching these problems while they're still mount problems rather than waiting until they become transmission, axle, or frame problems. Engine mount replacement typically costs $300 to $800 depending on your vehicle, but this modest investment prevents the thousands in secondary damage that occurs when mounts fail completely. Replace mounts with OEM or heavy-duty aftermarket units designed for your specific application. Universal mounts rarely fit properly and fail quickly, creating the same expensive problems all over again. Secret number 14. Undercarriage rust prevention that saves your vehicle's structure. Most drivers never look under their vehicles, but what's happening underneath is slowly destroying their car's structural integrity and safety systems in ways that can make repair costs exceed the vehicle's value. Road salt, mud, and moisture create a corrosive environment under your vehicle that attacks brake lines, fuel lines, frame rails, and suspension mounting points. This isn't just cosmetic surface rust. It's structural corrosion that can cause catastrophic safety failures and repair bills that total otherwise good vehicles. Here's what winter driving and neglected undercarriage maintenance does to your vehicle's most critical systems, and why the damage is so expensive to repair. Road salt doesn't just sit on metal surfaces, it draws moisture from the air and creates an electrochemical reaction that eats through steel components from the inside out. Brake lines corrode and rupture without warning, creating complete brake failure that endangers lives and results in emergency repairs costing $800 to $1,500. Fuel lines develop pinhole leaks that create fire hazards and emissions violations requiring complete fuel system replacement. Most catastrophically, frame rails and subframe components rust through, compromising your vehicle's crash protection and structural integrity in ways that can't be safely repaired. The hidden damage extends to suspension and steering components that become unsafe when their mounting points corrode. Control arm bushings tear free from weakened mounting points. Ball joints separate from corroded steering knuckles, and shock absorber mounts fail when rust compromises their attachment points. These failures don't just create expensive repair bills, they create dangerous situations where you can lose control of your vehicle without warning. Frame and structural rust damage often makes vehicles unsafe to drive and economically impossible to repair, turning what could have been prevented with simple maintenance into total vehicle loss. Here's the undercarriage protection strategy that can add years to your vehicle's life and prevent thousands in corrosion damage. Rinse your vehicle's undercarriage at least once per month and weekly during winter conditions. When salt is used on roads, use a pressure washer or undercarriage wash setting at car washes to blast away salt, mud, and debris that holds moisture against metal components. Pay special attention to areas around brake lines, fuel lines, and suspension mounting points where corrosion typically starts. For vehicles in severe salt environments, Consider annual undercoating with products designed to displace moisture and provide long-term corrosion protection. This preventive maintenance costs virtually nothing compared to the thousands in repair bills it prevents, and it can literally double your vehicle's usable lifespan in harsh climates. The investment in regular undercarriage care pays massive dividends in preserved vehicle value, maintained safety, and avoided catastrophic repair bills that destroy family budgets. Secret number 15. Always question urgent repairs. How shops use fear to empty your wallet. Here's something every car owner needs to understand, but most never learn until they've been burned. The automotive repair industry has sales quotas, profit targets, and incentive structures that often put your wallet ahead of your safety. When a service advisor tells you about urgent repairs that must be done immediately, you're often being manipulated with fear tactics designed to generate revenue rather than address genuine safety concerns. Learning to question these high-pressure sales tactics can save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars on every service visit. The most common urgent repair scams follow predictable patterns that every driver should recognize. Brake jobs are the classic example. A shop will tell you your brakes are dangerous and could fail at any time, when your pads still have significant life remaining. They'll show you the thinnest pad on your vehicle and claim all pads are that worn, or they'll point to surface rust on rotors as evidence of dangerous wear when that rust is completely normal. Similarly, shops love to sell expensive transmission services by claiming your fluid is burnt or contaminated when it's actually in acceptable condition. They know most customers can't evaluate these claims independently and will pay anything to avoid perceived safety risks. The financial impact of these tactics is staggering. When you add up unnecessary services over your vehicle's lifetime, a brake job sold 2 years early cost you $600 to $1,200 in premature replacement. An unnecessary transmission service runs $300 to $600 for fluid you didn't need to change. Cooling system flushes, fuel system services, and air conditioning repairs are frequently oversold to customers who trust their service provider's recommendations without question. Over 10 years of vehicle ownership, these unnecessary services can easily cost you $3,000 to $6,000 in repairs you never actually needed. Here's your defense strategy against repair upselling that protects both your safety and your bank account. Always ask for photos or physical evidence of the problems they're claiming. Request to see exactly what specifications or measurements indicate the repair is needed, and get a second opinion from an independent shop before authorizing expensive work. A legitimate safety concern will be obvious and measurable. Brake pads below the minimum thickness specification, fluid that's genuinely contaminated, or components that are visibly damaged beyond acceptable limits. Urgent repairs that can't be demonstrated with clear evidence are usually sales tactics rather than genuine safety issues. Take photos of the problems they show you and research normal component appearance online. You'll be shocked how often dangerous conditions are actually normal wear or maintenance items that aren't urgent. This skeptical approach to repair recommendations can save you hundreds on every service visit while ensuring you only pay for repairs you actually need. Secret number 16. Battery terminal maintenance that prevents expensive electrical failures. Most people ignore their battery terminals until their car won't start, but this neglect creates electrical problems that are often misdiagnosed as major component failures, costing hundreds or thousands in unnecessary repairs. Battery terminal corrosion doesn't just make starting difficult, it creates voltage drops and electrical resistance that can damage your alternator, starter, and sensitive electronic components throughout your vehicle. The diagnostic time alone for electrical problems that could be solved with 10 minutes of terminal cleaning often costs more than most people spend on maintenance in an entire year. Here's what battery terminal corrosion actually does to your vehicle's electrical system, and why the consequences are so much more expensive than the simple cause. Corroded terminals create electrical resistance that forces your alternator to work harder to maintain proper voltage levels. This extra stress shortens alternator life from the typical 8 to 10 years down to 4 to 6 years, resulting in premature failure that costs $400 to $800 to replace. Your starter motor draws tremendous current through corroded connections, generating heat that damages internal windings and leads to starter failure costing $300 to $600. Most expensively, voltage fluctuations from poor connections can damage electronic control modules, sensors, and other computer components that cost hundreds or thousands to replace. The diagnostic nightmare created by corroded battery terminals often costs more than the actual repairs. When electrical problems develop, Shops typically start with expensive diagnostic procedures that can run $150 to $300 just to identify the source of intermittent problems. They may replace alternators, starters, or other components that are actually fine, but appear to be failing due to poor connections. I've seen customers spend over $2,000 chasing electrical gremlins that were caused by $20 worth of terminal corrosion. Problems that could have been prevented with basic maintenance that takes minutes to perform. Here's the battery maintenance routine that prevents electrical failures and saves hundreds in diagnostic costs. Clean your battery terminals every 3 to 4 months using a mixture of baking soda and water to neutralize acid corrosion. Remove the negative terminal first, then the positive, and scrub both terminals and cable ends with a wire brush until they're shiny and clean. Rinse with clean water. Dry thoroughly and apply a thin coat of dielectric grease or petroleum jelly to prevent future corrosion. Reconnect positive first, then negative, and ensure connections are tight but not over-torqued. This simple maintenance prevents the voltage drops in electrical resistance that destroy expensive components while ensuring reliable starting and proper charging system operation. The few minutes invested in terminal cleaning can prevent hundreds in alternator and starter replacements, while eliminating the diagnostic costs associated with mysterious electrical problems that trace back to corroded connections. Block 17. The parking brake mistake that destroys your transmission. Here's the final costly mistake that most drivers make every single day without realizing the expensive damage they're causing to their transmission. If you shift into park before setting your parking brake, you're relying on a small metal pawl inside your transmission to hold your entire vehicle's weight on hills and slopes. This tiny component was never designed to bear that load, and when it breaks from the stress, you're facing a transmission teardown and rebuild that typically costs $2,800 to $4,500. The tragedy is that this catastrophic failure is completely preventable, with a simple change in your parking routine. Here's exactly what happens inside your transmission when you rely on park alone, and why this seemingly harmless habit leads to such expensive repairs. Your transmission's parking pawl is about the size of your thumb and designed only as a backup safety device, not as your primary parking system. When you park on any incline and shift to park first, your vehicle's weight settles onto this small metal piece, creating stress loads it was never engineered to handle. Over time, this stress causes the pawl to wear, bend, or break completely. When it fails, your vehicle can roll freely even in park position, creating safety hazards and requiring complete transmission disassembly to access and replace the internal components. The damage extends beyond just the pawl itself, because the failure often happens suddenly under load. When the pawl breaks, it can damage other internal transmission components including the park gear, valve body, and case itself. This cascading damage transforms what could have been a simple pawl replacement into a complete transmission rebuild costing thousands of dollars. Even worse, pawl failure often happens at the worst possible times: on steep driveways, in parking garages, or on hills where a rolling vehicle becomes a dangerous projectile that can cause property damage and injuries. Here's the proper parking sequence that protects your transmission and can save you thousands in repair costs. Always set your parking brake before shifting into park position. Roll forward slightly until you feel the parking brake holding your vehicle's weight. Then shift to park as a backup safety measure. This technique uses your brake system, which was designed to hold your vehicle, as the primary holding force while your transmission's park pawl serves only as intended backup protection. Your brake system can easily handle your vehicle's weight and was engineered specifically for this purpose, while your transmission was designed for power transfer, not weight holding. The money saved with proper parking technique is substantial when you consider transmission rebuild costs versus brake maintenance expenses. Brake adjustments and cable replacements cost $50 to $150 and last for years, while transmission rebuilds cost thousands and require days of shop time. More importantly, using your parking brake regularly keeps the cables and mechanisms from seizing due to corrosion and neglect. Parking brakes that aren't used regularly often fail when you need them most, creating the same expensive transmission stress you're trying to avoid. This simple habit change costs nothing to implement but can save you thousands in transmission damage while actually improving your vehicle's safety and reliability. If you start implementing even 3 of these 17 secrets today, you can easily avoid thousands of dollars in unnecessary repairs and extend your vehicle's life well beyond 300,000 miles. Think about the money you've already wasted on repairs that could have been prevented, oil changes that came too late and cost you engine damage, brake jobs that were needed early because of poor driving habits, or transmission problems from ignoring simple maintenance schedules. Your vehicle is probably your second largest investment after your home. Protect that investment with the knowledge you've gained today, and start building the maintenance habits that will serve you for decades to come. The drivers who reach 300,000 miles aren't lucky, they're informed, and now you are too. Thanks for watching, and remember, the best repair is the one you never have to make. Quick disclaimer: these tips are based on general automotive principles and my professional experience. Always consult your vehicle's manual and consider your skill level before attempting any maintenance. If you're not comfortable with any procedure, or if you discover significant problems, have a qualified mechanic take a look. Safety first, both yours and your vehicle's.